Welcome to Introductory Web Programming for the Chromebook. We're going to be using HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, to program a simple web page that you can view and alter, and later on you can load it onto the internet and everyone in the world can see it. It's a very simple language. It doesn't require a lot of work. There's a bit of a learning curve, but not too much. Anyone can do this, and you can begin a career in web programming if you just learn these basic skills. What we require is not a lot of extra tools, nothing we need that's special. Simple typing is necessary and memorizing a few simple rules, but the payoff is very high considering you won't need to learn a huge amount of stuff. What we require only is good programming habits, because over time a collection of web documents can get very large, and you want to make certain they're consistent with each other. And of course a page won't work unless it's properly programmed. But the rules are pretty simple, and the interface is actually a little forgiving. If you make an error, it's obvious and you know how to change it. So today we're going to learn how web pages work very simply. I'll give you a simple view of how web pages work. Show you the language that creates web pages. It's called markup. You mark up pages and post them, and they're visible to anyone. At the moment, everything is going to be kept on your single computer. We're not going to post anything to the web. How the web works, how web pages work, does not differ really between posting them on the web and posting them on your regular computer just for your own use. So you can learn a lot of web programming simply by posting pages to your local memory and querying them with your web browser. You can iron out all the bumps before you post anything for people to read. You need two tools. You need a browser, which you already have. You operate a browser every day. Even if you're operating Facebook or Twitter, what you're operating is a specialized web browser. You've used them many of you have probably used them your entire life. And they're a way of viewing information that's been encoded for display on the web. But you don't write web content in a web browser. You write it in a text editor. The simple text editor simply allows you to write a bunch of words and letters and control characters, and they will, in concert with each other, specify what a web page is going to look like. But it's not like you design a web page in Photoshop and specify how it's going to look graphically. You specify how it looks by writing language which imposes conditions under which the web browser displays text. It's all text. Once you add pictures, that's a slightly different thing, but colors and some shapes and how you format the text, that's all specified just in letters. And that makes it extremely efficient to write and store and transmit. A huge number of pages can only require a small amount of text, which makes it very efficient to store and transmit. But you start with a text editor, and then you view your product in a browser. So this is a regular web page that I wrote up. This is just a screenshot. It's very simple. All web pages used to look like this. Now they're fancier, but the principles are the same. I have a little blurb here that I added graphically so that it tells you what you have on this page. First thing is a tab up at the top. It's called the title. So even if you've taken focus off the page, you know that it's ready for you to look at it. Then you have a heading, a welcome banner. It says welcome to my page. It's got some color, it's centered. And then you have information you want to convey on the page. You have information about John Bailey and what he does, and you have links that you go to which will take you to the various things that John Bailey wants you to see. A very simple page. Links are extremely powerful. Once links were invented, all the documents on the web could be knit together into one, really. You can go anywhere from any page. Now there's billions of pages, all billions of links, keeping them together, and all you have to do is click on the little blue language and little blue letters, and it will take you wherever they direct you to go. So this is what the page looks like when it's displayed in the browser. Now let's see what it looks like as you're editing it in the text editor. Totally different. It's just letters arranged in a formula. It looks a little complex. The web page we're going to write is going to be simpler than this, but you know, maybe if you've gone into the reveal code section of your web browser, you've seen this language before. This specifies what the page is going to look like. The tags, which are in green, they're going to be invisible to the viewer, but the web browser will use them to establish a network of information that is your page. Each tag and set of tags specifies a different part of the page or a different aspect of the page. The title of the page, remember it said John Bailey's page, the stuff in the tab up top, that fits between the two title tags. Between the style tags you have information about the color. You'll learn all this jargon, and in the body of the page you will have the sentences that were written and also the links. You'll notice the links are in red, and the text displayed is in black. The text editor automatically creates this color for you so that it knows that once you've typed in a certain tag, it knows the following stuff is going to be, text, and colors it appropriately. Again, the page we're going to write is much simpler than this, but this is the text editor environment in which you will be writing pages. Again, let's go back to look what it says, look what it looks like. You will remember a previous page, there was some specification of the formatting information. Background of the page was beige. The heading was in red. Let's look at it again. You don't need to be too afraid of this. The page we're going to write in a little while is a lot simpler than this. But just remember, you're going to have a whole assortment of different tags within which you hide some other within which you place some other tags, and you will add language for the browser to display to the reader within those tags. You're going to learn about 6 different tag types, and you're going to use them. It's not it looks a little forbidding now, but once you see how it's done, it's pretty simple. And what's nice about this, like I said, is the text editor gives the different types of page element different colors to keep it organized. And if you screw something up, the colors change, and you know something is wrong when the colors are out of whack. I've done that here. I removed this is a fully functioning page, but then I deleted a colon, and then the color formatting information turned red. I removed a quote mark, and at the bottom, and all of subsequent information turned red. So that fire engine red was a sign that you've done something wrong. You'll get to know this stuff instinctively. So let's learn about the HTML tags, which are the individual elements upon which you hang all the text for display, and within which you place the entire hierarchy of page information. These are the most basic tags. They occur in sets mostly, and you'll see they're kind of nested. The outermost tags on the page, you type these into the text editor and you save them, and then the text editor reads them and constructs a page from them. The outermost tags are HTML at the top and the bottom. They are a set of HTML tags, and the bottom one has a little / that's the only thing that's different. The top one says we're opening an HTML document, it's called the opening tag, and the bottom one with a little / says we're closing the HTML document, it's called a closing tag. And they make up a tag set. The rest of the page, including other tag sets, nests within these two HTML tags. The next level of tags, there's a head tag set and a body tag set. Again, they have an opening and a closing tag each. The head information will contain the title, which goes in the tab. Later on, you'll add all kinds of stuff such as metadata about cataloging. You'll add formatting information, style information, maybe some scripting information, but you don't need to know any of that now. Right now, all you need to know is within the head set will be a title. A title tag set within which you will place the text that shows up on the tab. Then you have the body tag set. That's where all the page text information will live. In our case, we're going to set off the page text information with a paragraph tag, little P in angle brackets, and every paragraph will begin with a new P in angle brackets. Paragraphs don't necessarily need a closing P tag. Every time you get a new P, that creates a new paragraph. In some instances, you will need to add a closing paragraph tag. In this instance, we won't need to do that. But just think of nesting. Think of a hierarchy of different tags doing different things, creating different elements of the page. And we will fill in some language in here, and that will be the stuff that displays in the page. Again, these are just the specific tags that most people use all the time. We've already seen HTML tag set, head tag set, body tag set, and paragraph tag. Bottom three are heading tag, anchor tag for links, and image tag, which will specify the location of images to display. Heading tag looks a little complex. That's because there's 5 different heading tags: H1, H2, H3, H4, H5 of different sizes. And you put in headings to help the user guide through the various parts of the text. With the image tag, that's interesting. That points to a file where the image is. But you don't include the images in the HTML text. You merely enclose the directions of where the image lives somewhere else, and the browser goes to that place and loads the image instantaneously. It's really kind of amazing. You can have thousands of images on a page, but it still requires very little space to store, because all you're storing is the file addresses of the images. You're not storing the images in the HTML. That's a little more advanced. That's too advanced for you to know right now, but it reiterates the fact that HTML is a very efficient language which doesn't take much room. Okay, so back to our John Bailey page. I just have the HTML page side by side now with an image of how it appears in the browser. You can see the hierarchy of tags. They're not indented in this instance, but in the head you'll see the title first, and then you'll see some style information. Those two lines there specify the color of the text and the background. I'll show you all that stuff separately, but that's where it lives in a tag set called style. Then we exit the head component of the page and go to the body, and the body has all the text information displayed on the page. In this case, I made them all headings, but you can set stuff off with paragraph tags too. The page we're about to edit is going to be much simpler, but first we have to learn precisely how to enter the information in the editor. What we do is we open a text editor program in Chromebook, go to the lower left hand corner of the Start button of your Chromebook, and it'll bring up a list of the apps that you have. You want to select the text editor. It's extremely simple. Text editors are much simpler than something like Word, because they only store the plain letters that you type in. That's really important, because HTML, if you wrote HTML code in a Word program, it would save all kinds of extra formatting information which would confuse the browser and nothing would display. For a while Word had an HTML component, may still have it, but it's complex. It's easier to just use a text editor. In a PC you'd use Notepad. In a Macintosh you'd use Text Wrangler, something that saves things very simply. The Chrome text editor saves things in the appropriate format. What you see in the text editor is precisely what the browser will see. Okay, the first step for editing a new HTML page. Up top there's some code there. So, what first step, even before you write any code, is to save the document using a .html file extension. Just make up a file name and add a .html file extension and save it. You got to do that first, because then the computer knows that you're writing HTML, and it provides all the helpful text editing HTML formatting for you, so you get all the colors and the indentations so that you can keep the page orderly in your mind. And also remember, we showed you, if you make an error, the text editor will point it out. Before we enter any text, like we said, I want to point out, after you've saved the document that you typed in, you want to view it in the web browser, and you do that by clicking on the HTML document in the file finder, and that will automatically, if it has a .html extension and it's properly composed, it will open in a web browser, and then you can view your work product and see how it works. So we had a network of tags, and we're going to add some text. Don't worry right now, this right now I'm going to bring it all up, and you can freeze, you can pause the slideshow and type it all in, and don't worry that we're getting ahead. You can type it all in and save it, and then display it. Again, we're doing this locally. We're not publishing it to the web. And after you've written it in, it will display in the browser. So let's write our own page. So first thing you do is open up a new document in text editor, make up a name for the document, save it as an HTML file with a .html file extension. You don't have to write anything yet. Then we'll write and save the file. I'll show you what language to type in. Afterwards, we will open it in File Finder and display it in the browser. Okay, so pause the machine, pause the slideshow right now, and open your text editor and type this in. And then if you haven't saved it with a .html, do so afterwards. Just type the stuff in black, not the stuff in red, of course. That's just my little editorial comments. Type the stuff in black as you see it into the text editor. You can pause it now and just do that. Okay, assuming you've paused and you're back. I just want to point out what the page looks like. We have the HTML and other tags networked, laid out in the various hierarchy using indentation, and the stuff between the title tag set and the stuff following the paragraphs tags, the P angle bracket tags, that's the stuff that appears in the web browser. So if you've saved this with a .html tag extension, and if you've done it precisely as it appears, even if you have messed up a little, it will display in the web browser. So after you've saved it, pull up the File Finder and click on the page, and it will open in a web browser, hopefully. Do that right now. We can pause, and hopefully this is what you got. It doesn't look like much yet, but it is a complete web page. You have up top the tab with the title, and then you have 2 lines of text, which are the lines that follow the paragraph tags. You'll notice all the HTML tags that you typed in, they're invisible to the viewer. They're specifically specifications for the browser to display the page, but they're not visible to the viewer. So this is your page. I'm going to modify it a little. You can pause this and see what's different from what you've written in your text editor already. I've basically changed the 2 paragraphs to headings, an H1 heading and an H3 heading. They're going to be larger and bolder. Headings require a closing tag, unlike paragraphs. And the second line of the body, the H3 line, we've added a little I tag set inside the H3 tag set that will italicize what we've written. It's called style information. You could add a B for bold instead of an I. You could add a U for underline. You could add all 3 provided they're properly nested. Get a bold, underlined, italic. Bold actually doesn't work with headings because they're already bold. You could have other stuff including strike through. We'll see how it works. We italicized the H3. It looks a little italicized. You can see the markup language over to the right. You can see the relative size of H1 versus H3 headings. You can see the title tag set has not changed at all. The tab set is still exactly the same. And these all, as usual, live within the HTML tag set. Head and body live within HTML, and title lives within head, and the H1 and H3 live within the body. It's all a hierarchy. And that's a complete page. We've created a title inside the, for the tab, created some headings in the body of the page, created some text and text effects. Text, of course, was set off by the paragraph tag. This is all just review. And we saved it with a .html file extension to create a browser-readable document that could go around the world at very quick speed. It's only a couple hundred K, and at the moment we only have it on a local drive. So thank you for viewing this. We appreciate your watching and listening. We hope it's been helpful. In a minute we'll have a link to the next chapter, which will show you some more style that you can add to make a page more colorful and vary the text. We'll also add a few links, and that way you can link around to other pages, or you could create other pages internally which you can link to. I think I advise you to purchase a textbook or borrow one from the library on HTML, textbooks. Paper textbooks are very useful because everything is well organized, as opposed to going to the web to learn stuff on a website like W3 Schools. That's useful, but it's not organized in a hierarchy of information. You don't know where to start. This slideshow attempts to organize things in a hierarchy of information too. So go on to the next lesson. Leave questions in the comments if you have any, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening.